It gives me great pleasure to be able to call, well, some pleasure anyway, to call my friend, the member for Northern Tablelands, for his valedictory speech.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I love you too. There is no greater honour in life than to be entrusted to represent your community, no nobler pursuit than to serve your community, and no greater responsibility than to advocate for the needs, desires and aspirations of the people you represent. Mr. Speaker, those were the first words in my first speech in this place almost 11 years ago to the day, just over there. And for me, I hope over those 11 years I've been able to live up to those bywords, because they certainly have been bywords for the way that I've tried to undertake my work. I want to first of all acknowledge everyone that's in the gallery today, particularly the students from Walker Central School who cannily changed the plans to make it work today. But no, thank you to those Year 11 Legal Studies students. I'm really going to miss all that banter that you all just witnessed, by the way. But I am really heartened by everyone that has taken the time to come here today. It's a long way to travel from the Northern Tablelands, and now without our regional seniors travel cards, it's just that little bit more expensive to get here. Trust me, that'll be it. That'll be the last. That'll be the last. I had to just get that one in. No, I love you, Jenny. It's fine. I note also on today that I am the first member for Northern Tablelands to ever deliver a valedictory speech. With previous members, Bill McCarthy, who unfortunately died in office, Ray Chappell, who was being defeated at an election, and my immediate predecessor, Richard Torbay, resigning very suddenly.
Order! Member for Northern Tablelands, come to
but today is not just for me putting a full stop on 11 years in this place. It's closing, from my part, a chapter of 20 years in public office. It was March the 28th, 2004 that I was elected to Gunnedah Shire Council as a bright, wide-eyed, probably quite naive 19-year-old. And it's wonderful to have Mayor Jamie Chaffey here from Gunnedah Shire, continuing the fine tradition of mayoral leadership in that community, who's also the chairman of the Country Mayors Association. But that experience, 9 years on Gunnedah Shire Council, I think held me in very good stead for coming into this place. And for those of you in this place that have come from local government, you know all too well what a great grounding it is to learn what it is to serve your community, to fight for your community and speak up without fear or favour. And I still remember quite vividly the day after I was elected Mayor of Gunnedah Shire, another great country party stalwart, Roger Cornfield Ansfield Watton, and he used to say it's Watton as in cotton, not Wooten as in Rooten. That was how he explained how to pronounce his last name. And he pulled up in his old clonked out Mercedes-Benz and said, "Jump in the car, I want to take you for a spin." And he said to me, and I've never forgotten it, that whatever you do in politics, remember this: if you always put people and their issues at the forefront, the politics will always take care of itself. And that is something that I have hopefully been not only taken on board and lived by, but hopefully I've been able to act that out. And I'll be forever grateful for Roger's wise advice and counsel. I'm also delighted to have here today my Year 6 teacher, Mr. Gary Humphreys, who's here in the gallery. Mr. Humphreys, like my parents, is not a political person at all, but he instilled in me a great love of speaking and self-confidence. So it's his fault. Before that, I was quite retiring and sat at the back of the classroom and wouldn't say much. And as well, education's been a very important part of my life, and I'm also glad that my deputy principal from my high school days, Mr. Lindsay Paul, is here somewhere in the gallery, who ironically ended up being a principal of a high school in my electorate as well, and so life goes full circle. I always enjoyed Mr. Paul's speeches at his annual school presentations, but I most enjoyed the fact, and particularly country MPs that might be doing, like I did, about 20 odd school presentations at the end of the year each year, is that he always finished his school presentation ceremonies in under an hour and a half. And that was greatly appreciated. And it's great to have him here today as well. Look, when I came into this place, I felt blessed, but also cursed in a way. I took over the mantle of representing the Northern Tablelands from whatever you want to think about him, and I know he was a good friend of yours, as he was mine, Richard Torbay. He was someone who I watched very closely and how he serviced the electorate. And something in the way that he did his work resonated with me, going back to what Roger Watton said about putting people and issues first, politics second. And I've never seen to this day an MP that actually worked as hard, turned up to the opening of an envelope and actually took up the cudgels here in Macquarie Street for those issues without fear or favour. I feel very strongly that when we are in this place representing our seats, we are mere custodians of a very important office. There are only 93 of us in here. There are 8 million people out there. How lucky are we? How fortunate are we for just a blip in time to be able to be the voice of our communities? And so when I came into the role, the bar was set incredibly high, and that made me incredibly nervous, but it also made me determined not to let people down and not to really change a lot of how he did his work in the electorate. And I hope that as I depart this place on Monday, this coming Monday, that hopefully that bar is still just as high, maybe a little bit higher, but hopefully I haven't let people down, and that legacy is there of vigorous vocal local representation. And on that, I know over the years I have enraged various people, particularly in my political party, with some of the stances I've taken, but I've done so because of fundamentally my belief that when you come to this place, sure, you fight elections hard and they're won and lost, but when you take up your seat in this place, it is your job to be the voice and the advocate for your community, not just the people who you agree with, not just the people who voted for you, but everyone from the large communities to the very, very small. And over the years, I've worked with people from all walks of life, all backgrounds, and people that will never vote for me or my political party, but I don't care. That has been completely irrelevant. People are people, and they deserve a voice and representation. Now, today I know a lot of people are expecting me to a few mic drop moments, a few truth bombs, and all of that. And David Elliott's presence today probably helps confirm some of that. I'm 39, and hopefully when I walk out of here, I'm going to hopefully have another career. And in that vein, I've decided to save some of those stories for another time, away from Hansard, that will be on there forever on the record. But I have thoroughly enjoyed my 11 years. Stayed longer than I had thought I would, and probably longer than many would have preferred. But it has been an incredible ride. During that time, I've been very privileged, I feel, to work with some amazing community groups and individuals, not least of which my local mayors, deputy mayors and general managers. And they're here today, all of them, every single one of them are here today. And I want to acknowledge you all and your predecessors, because the relationship, particularly in the bush, between a local member and their local mayors and councils are absolutely fundamental. Back home, we've always tried to adopt a Team Northern Tablelands approach. That is, it doesn't matter whether we agree or disagree or different political stripe, we work together and we're stronger together. And I always use the slogan that in the regions, the deck of cards is always and will always be stacked against us. We only are a third of the population. We're a minority, regardless of political stripe. The regional seats are a minority of the 93 seats in this place. And so to combat that, we need to be united as a region if we're to have our voice heard here and we're to extract as much cash as possible from this place and take it back home for important projects. And I think that Team Northern Tablelands approach, if you will excuse my indulgence, has been incredibly successful. Over the last 11 years, the capital investment in the Northern Tablelands has been record-breaking. Nearly $3.3 billion worth of capital investment, 1,883 individual projects. I was just looking through the figures just yesterday. 22,354 kilometres of new bitumen seal throughout the Northern Tablelands. 44 new bridges, retiring all those old timber bridges. 4 new hospitals, 2 that have been built, 2 that, where's Ryan Park, that will be built. And we need a bit of extra money for the Glen Innes Hospital, Minister Park. And 18 new fire stations, schools, ambulance stations, the list goes on. But that to me is bread and butter stuff. That's what good local members should be doing, whether in government, opposition or otherwise. That is the job, to extract money from Macquarie Street, to repair infrastructure, maintain infrastructure, to help the community develop new projects and initiatives. And there's been many, in that bundle of 1,883, there's been some incredibly memorable ones. It's good to have Duncan Gay here today because my most memorable one is a bridge that I drive over probably 6 or 7 times each week. It's called the Emu Crossing Bridge at Bundara, if anyone's up that way. Now, that community had to wait 98 years for their new bridge, so I blame all governments of various political persuasions over the years. And we found a letter from the old Goswick Shire Council back in the 1920s petitioning the then, I don't know who was in government, Duncan, you'll probably hear, but who was in government, I don't know, but for a new bridge. It was a low-level crossing that used to flood over, which the school kids loved because they couldn't get to school. But that community banded together. It was a real community effort. Bob Crouch, Dave and Mel Lau, the whole community. And during the by-election campaign for Northern Tablelands, Duncan actually came up and announced $3.5 million to fund a new bridge. The community was absolutely ecstatic. The media was quite cynical and said to Duncan, is this contingent on Adam Marshall being elected, or does the money not happen? And he just looked down, he paused and he looked down the barrel of the camera and just said, Adam will be elected. And I thought that was a great way to not answer, but answer the question. I put that one away in the back of my mind for a later time. But when that bridge was open in October 2015, the whole community turned out. Every shop closed in the village. The school closed, and everyone walked across that bridge, and it was a great community day. Now, there's only 300 people that live at Bundara, but for them, that project has been transformational, and every single member of that community has never forgotten that and never forgotten those that were involved. And that, to me, is emblematic of how projects like that we throw a bandy around in this place and weaponise and stuff like that, but that is the transformational power of projects in a regional setting. That community has never looked back since then. Projects like the Special Activation Precinct at Moree, the Industrial Park at Armidale Airport, the funding that's been put aside for future water security projects around Armidale, Malpas Dam, pipelines. Those are the projects that will truly benefit our region for many decades to come. Also, in my time in this place, Mr. Speaker, I've been very fortunate to serve for 5 years in Cabinet, and I don't want to make a big deal of that because it's not why I got into this place. It was just the cherry on top, a huge opportunity. I infuriated premiers and my electorate and my ministerial staff, because I hated being in Sydney and I couldn't wait to get back to the electorate. Probably why I only lasted 5 years, among other reasons. But we won't canvass those here today. Another something else for the dinner afterwards. But I, in that time, there was some significant challenges that I just want to dwell on for a few moments. And particularly in the agriculture portfolio, coming into that role after the 2019 election, right in the heat, literally, of the worst drought that this state and our farming communities had ever experienced. It was a baptism of fire. And to roll out over $2.4 billion of direct financial assistance to our primary producers was not only difficult, and I still remember being grilled by Dom as the treasurer then about all this money that was going out the door and the drought maps and all of those, all of that. But that actually...
That were fabricated. So.
Well, unfortunately, all those documents are covered under cabinet in confidence. Well, I always believe in a bit of gentle curation every now and again. It doesn't hurt. But Dom was great. He didn't want to spend the money, but he did. That's all I'll say about that. But that assistance actually helped not only our primary producers get through the drought, but actually bounce back rather quickly when seasonal conditions turned around. And then if that wasn't bad enough, then we had a mice plague, and then we also had COVID, which presented difficulties right across government, but to try and make sure that we had flexible arrangements where the agricultural sector could continue to function. On that point, I'll say this as well, that I will never forget seeing how the sausage was made, to use a phrase, in terms of that COVID response. Unless you were there watching Brad Hazard, Dom Perrottet and Gladys Berejiklian work through something that no leaders had ever had to confront, and being able to sit a little bit on the inside and watch how that played out and the leadership that was shown, we were very fortunate as a state to have those people in that room at the time. And I say that with genuine sincerity. Those were difficult times, and we came through, and I want to pay tribute to that leadership. I also want to pay tribute, while I'm talking about those ministerial times, to Scott Hansen, who's joined us in the gallery. Like me, he's unemployed, I'm soon to be, but and it was lovely to see, by the way, Scott, the person that sacked you also gets sacked very recently as well. So that was a bit of bittersweet justice. Scott is, in my 20 years working in local government and state government, he is without doubt the best public servant that I've ever had the pleasure to work with. Someone who has the regions at his heart, but someone who isn't afraid to tell you as a minister quite frankly about what needs to be done or what shouldn't be done. And to Scott, thank you very much. Those times were quite heady: drought, mice, and the COVID response. And so I want to thank you not just for being here today, but for the service that you've given to our state for 10 years in your role as well. It's very important. But returning to the electorate, Mr. Speaker, I cannot thank the community enough. I've been so blessed to be in this place, and so blessed to have such strong support from the community. The Northern Tablelands is not, I know on the outside you look at the numbers and everyone thinks, oh, well, that's just a safe National Party seat. That actually belies the complexity of the Northern Tablelands and the diversity. It is not a rural constituency base. It is a seat that is diverse and complex, and it is a seat politically that has demonstrated that it will support anyone who is willing to stand up for it. Since its recreation in the 1980s, it's had Labor MPs, it's had independent MPs and National Party MPs. I might ask for a short extension, if I may, Mr. Speaker, if that's all right.
The question is that the members' time be extended, and noting that we do have question time at 11, I'm not going to let you run over that.
I won't go anywhere near that.
Okay, I will put it.
I think
the question is that the members' time be extended. All of that opinion say aye. Of course, please continue.
Thank you. Thank you for the House indulgence. The seat has been represented by various political parties, and it is a seat, though, that once it picks, it tends to stick. And that is that if the local member looks after the seat, they will in turn support the local member. And it is, I'm very hopeful, in fact very confident, that the next member for Northern Tablelands, Brendan Moylan, who's joined us in the gallery today, will continue that legacy of fighting hard in this place for the community, and speaking up no matter how difficult the issue is for what the communities need. And I know that Brendan has that capability to do that because of his experience, his background. And I think in Brendan, you will be trading up in terms of the quality and the calibre of local member, which will send shudders through some people in this place. But he will. His background and experience and his commitment to the region will stand him in very good stead in this place. And I look forward to working with him in the coming weeks, whenever the by-election date is set, to make sure that he is the one that I can pass the baton to continue the work. A few thank yous to finish. I want to thank my electorate office staff who are all here today, particularly Lisa Williams, who's been with me the whole 11 years and was with Richard Torbay for 6 years before that. Lisa is absolutely magnificent. We live and we die based on our electorate office staff, and she is incredible, knows everyone in the electorate and knows all the issues. I'm not one that likes to sit in the office. I hate being in the office, and when I am, I like to shut the door and write my little birthday cards, which I like doing. So Lisa and the electorate office staff really do hold the fort together across the Armidale and the Moree electorate offices. And to all of my staff, thank you very much. I've been very, very well backed up for many years by my staff, and most of whom have actually been there since the very beginning. I don't know how they've really done that and put up with me, but they have, and I sincerely appreciate that. To my ex-ministerial staff who have all gone off to have amazing careers, I want to thank them very much. Julian Luke is here today, one of my chiefs of staff, Alex Hall, Amy Minahan, and John O'More, and many others that'll be coming along later in the day. Some of you now in government will appreciate how you rely so heavily on those people to support you, and in those people I had amazing support to the extent where their job was always to reel me in on various things. Sometimes that didn't work, but I thank you all the same. As I leave this place, Mr. Speaker, I do so with mixed emotions. I will miss this place. I will miss the people. And I will miss the communities of the Northern Tablelands. I absolutely love them. They are amazing. The large communities, the small communities. I will miss that day-to-day personal interaction. There's no doubt about that. But I'm very excited about the future as well. I never intended to stay a long time in this place. I always wanted to get in, give it 110%, and pass the baton on to the next person while I was still sprinting, and to use some acting parlance, while the audience was still clapping. I hope that I've been able to do that. I hope to the people of Northern Tablelands that I haven't let you down, that I have been as strong an advocate as I've tried to be, and that I have been able to deliver some outcomes for you. None of these outcomes have come about by me. It's all about a team approach, and the team is absolutely essential. Lastly, to the National Party, thanks very much for having me, putting up with me, and thank you for all the support. It's interesting to reflect that the history of our party is an interesting one. way back in our history, we were called the Progressives. And that's something, I didn't mean that to be a joke. I actually meant that quite seriously. Because the history of our party, and the reason I'm a Nat and a proud Nat, is because our party is not one that is bound together by an ideology. It's not one that is bound together by a desire to fight wokeism or leftism or whatever the latest coined phrase is on Sky News. The purpose of our party is to aggressively represent the people of rural and regional New South Wales, the most socially disadvantaged, the most geographically disadvantaged, the ones with the lowest life expectancy, the lowest educational outcomes. It's not about representing the big end of town or the business community or the unions or the workers or whatever. It's about representing everyone. And it's to do so without a bias towards a certain core ideology. It's about simply representing people based on geography. And it's about representing people of all backgrounds to help them achieve their aspirations and their goals. That's why I'm a member of the Nats, and that's why I'm very proud to be so and will continue to be so. And I want to thank my colleagues here in this place that have been with me along this journey. It's been a wonderful ride. I see Janetta Matchett in the audience, the State Electorate Council Chair of the Northern Tablelands, long suffering, putting up with me, particularly during election campaigns. I've now patented my special technique of drilling corflutes into trees across the electorate. Matt Keane, you'll be happy with that. But for me to drill them into trees, they still have to be standing, so you'd be happy with that. And we joke, but anyway, but that's essentially why I love our political party. We are people from all sorts of backgrounds, and long may it be the case. And if I could give any parting advice to our party room, it is to use the time now in opposition wisely. And that is to avoid the temptation to simply just be oppositionalist for the sake of being oppositionalist, to use the time to actually craft and think deeply about good public policy for the bush, to work constructively with anyone in this place that is willing to help us achieve that, whether it's government or otherwise. And I know I've copped a bit of flack because I've been willing to work with the government since they've been elected, but I've done so in the spirit of getting stuff done for my electorate. And to the Premier, I can't thank him enough for the help and the commitment he's shown to the Moree community to deal with some very serious and difficult youth criminal justice issues. Those solutions cannot come without government support. And from opposition, obviously we control nothing, you control everything. So if I want to get something done in my electorate, we have to work together. And for that, I'll be very grateful. And that is what our party needs to do, I believe, in opposition. Be constructive, be practical, and think of good policy, and resist the temptation just to throw stones because it's cheap and easy to do. Actually do the hard work. So again, thanks everyone. It's been an incredible ride. I won't be, I'll be leaving this place, but you might still see me around a little bit. But I am certainly closing a chapter on elected life. I've loved it. I don't regret anything for a moment, and I'll be cheering you all on from the sides, wishing you all the very best. You can make enormous difference in this place. The partnership with Greg Piper and the Port of Newcastle Bill, a particular example where we skewered the government of the day. Well, that was us, wasn't it? I knew that.
Member for Northern Tablelands, I'll be looking forward to your resignation next Monday.
No, it was us. But to reverse, anyway, I won't go on. That was to reverse a terrible public policy decision of Mike Baird's. But anyway, and it'll be very good for our region. So you can make enormous change. Use the time you've got here wisely, but most importantly, as hopefully I've done, enjoy the ride enormously and enjoy what comes next. Thank you and farewell.
Thank you very much.